interrupt this program to bring you the following special report from 7 News.
We are on fire alert right now on 7 News at 5. Thanks so much for joining us. I normally don't have this guy sitting next to me. Mike Landis came in to join me. I'm Teresa Marchetta. We have been on the air for several hours now, bringing you continuing coverage of the High Park fire burning about 15 miles west of Fort Collins in Larimer County. That fire now somewhere well over 2,000 acres.
And that was the reason why we decided to do our extended coverage. We could tell from early on the fire was moving very, very fast, and the initial estimates were around 200 acres. You could see it was getting much bigger than that and moving very fast. When a fire gets this big, this fast, then you certainly have got to give it a lot of attention and let people know what's going on. That's our job this afternoon, and we hope you'll bear with us as we try to give you every different aspect of this, not only the way in which they are trying to fight this fire this afternoon, the stories of the people who have been evacuated, the folks who are concerned about their property, and those that have been trying to move their animals out to safety and that sort of thing. And of course, the incredibly brave men and women who are on the lines themselves, who've been moving people out, the folks who are doing the flying across, dropping that retardant. Here's one of the bombers right now, one of the planes that carries the retardant, I should say tanker. I always want to call them bombers. That's from way back when. But they really do such an amazing job, and they are saving lives, no question about it.
Well, and if you were just joining us, if this is the time that you normally tune in to check out what's going on, the 5 o'clock news on a Saturday, let us bring you up to date on the High Park fire. Again, it is about 15 miles west of Fort Collins. It is well over 2,000, up to 3,000 acres in size. Air Tracker 7 is bringing you a live picture of an intense hot spot in this fire. Look at this dramatic video of a helicopter making a drop, trying to save a home. Again, folks, this situation is unraveling before our eyes here as we see the efforts, the extraordinary efforts being made to save homes in Larimer County from this very ferocious High Park fire. It is crowning, meaning the flames are jumping from treetop to treetop, spreading very quickly in strong winds. Meteorologist Matt Makins, he'll check in just a moment. He has been following that force, tracking the smoke and tracking the winds, playing a huge factor, as well as the heat. You can see, fortunately, that there's water nearby here so that that helicopter can dip in and go right back over that home and drop another load, hoping to stave off the fire. There have been evacuations. Some 300 evacuation notices, phone calls have been sent out to folks all across the area of the fire, and we'll continue to either put at the bottom of our screen or put up a graphic to show you exactly where those evacuations are. Paradise Park Road, we've heard from some folks in that area. Stove Prairie Road, Wrist Canyon, north to that area. Spring Valley Road, south to include Tip Top Road. Old Flowers Road as well in the 8,000 block of that area. About 10 homes there. And then previous evacuations, Moosehorn Lane, Magic Lane, Spencer Mountain Road, all of those folks being asked to evacuate to friends, family, or to Cash Laputer Middle School on West County Road 54G in LaPorte.
One thing that's been interesting in talking to the folks at Larimer County in terms of them getting resources, they have not been shy about this. They have been very, very forceful, and they've certainly been proactive in getting as many people on the ground as they can. They figure more than 100 people now that are on the ground, but they are asking for many more to come from other parts of the state, to come from out of state, and certainly they will be here in no time at all. A Type 2 incident team arriving tomorrow. That's usually a 20-person team, and they could ask for one more than that if this, in fact, does start getting closer to the 3,000 of the 2,000 to 3,000 acres. And you can see it's moving so quickly, and Matt Makins has told us that the weather is not helping them in any way, shape, or form.
Before we get over to Matt, we've got our boots on the ground as well. 7 News reporter Amanda Koss live. She has been working hard to bring you the perspective of the folks who are evacuating. Amanda, you are out on LaPorte Road near Horsetooth Reservoir, and fill us in on what you've seen out there.
Yeah, Teresa and Mike, we just saw that live video from Air Tracker 7 of the firefight. Well, this view right here of this huge plume of smoke, this is what these residents are looking at right now. This is what they have to see, not knowing what's going on beyond that ridge. At this point, we've spoke with multiple evacuees who have said they were in a hurry. Like we said, we saw this plume of smoke. 2 were in town today. They saw the smoke, and they knew they had to get to their home at Old Flowers Road. Let's hear from them right after they evacuated.
We were told as we got out that the fire crossed the road just as we got through. So it's bad.
We made a quick run in. We had been in town, made a quick run in to get our stuff, and the heat going in was intense.
We have neighbors that we're worried about that haven't gotten out yet.
Do you worry that you won't have a home to go back to?
Yes.
Oh,
we got our lives. That's the most important thing.
Well, we checked
We'll
with the
be
Red
fine.
Cross. They said they've had more than. We checked with the Red Cross. They said they've had more than 36 cars go through, ask what needs to happen next. These residents wanting to know what's happening. Take a live look. Let's go to the right here. We're going to pan over. You're going to see these trailers now. Trailer after trailer, horse trailer we've seen, loading up these large animals. That phase of the evacuation is happening right now. I want to put this into perspective. We talked about how this fire is growing, it's burning fast. I want to put it into perspective compared to the lower North Fork fire, this recent fire. That burned 4,400 acres. So pretty close to the 3,000 projected to have burned right now. We're going to pan back over and show you the smoke now coming out. Also the behavior. We talk about how it was crowning, the lower North Fork fire crowning as well, and the weather conditions. Out here it is hot and it is dry, and if there is any wind, it's incredibly high. I know Matt Makins had talked about the humidity. It's about 5 to 10% right now, the wind gust. So the recipe adding up here to be a very difficult firefight. We'll continue to keep you updated along with the evacuations live here from the field. Until then, reporting live from Larimer County, Amanda Cost, 7 News.
Thank you, Amanda. And of course, when we talk about them taking the animals to the ranch, of course, that's that big facility by the Budweiser Center, and that's where a lot of those big animals are kept, and it works out very well there. Another live picture from Air Tracker, and now we see where they're headed. What's heading there, I should say?
2 tankers, Mike. 2 of the 3 that they have ordered just landing. Live pictures for you folks. You are seeing the very latest information here on 7 News. These tankers just getting in. They have ordered 3. 2 of them are here. And as you said, Mike, they are sparing no expense here. They have to. We're talking about saving lives. Larimer calling in all the resources early, trying to get them out there fighting this fire. So 2 of those tankers ordered are in, another one expected, and we've already seen a couple of them rotating in and out of Jeffco, dropping the retardant on the fire.
Getting that seed aircraft all ready to go and to get out there. They've got a lot of daylight left, and they can certainly get a lot of work done. They're not wasting any time at all. These pictures that you see from Air Tracker just give you an amazing view of, I mean, a little kind of a pinpoint of how fast and how hot this fire is burning. This area is moving, the fire is moving so very, very quickly through this area, and that's the big concern, is that the area, when they finally do get all of their boots on the ground, that's tough terrain. That was the very same thing that they've run into in the last 3 fires in the past 4 weeks, and that is that it's very tough to get in there on the ground, and yet they have to make sure that it doesn't flare up again.
Well, tough to get into, Mike, and also tough to notify folks who are out of cell service. Larimer County sheriffs have been going door to door where they can. They have put out calls where they can, and other folks just have to rely on their best common sense to get out of those cabin areas, to get out of the camp areas where they may have gone up for the weekend, to safety, because again, we have seen this fire spread to near, we're guessing near 3,000 acres by this point. And as Amanda said, lower North Fork, big fire,
huge fire,
big event,
deadly fire,
burned 4,400 acres, and we are nearing that on the first day of this fire that sparked just before 6 o'clock this morning.
Unbelievable. All right, let's check in now, I should say, with Molly Hendrickson, who is at Horsetooth Reservoir. Molly, you've seen some of the road closures that have taken place in that area, and how folks are trying to navigate around this fire. We can see the big plume in back of you.
Including us. We've been trying to navigate around those road closures all afternoon here, but let me show you. We just saw a helicopter here flying over Horsetooth Reservoir, over the ridge there toward that giant smoke plume you can see behind me there in the distance. This fire absolutely exploded here. We've watched it grow to 2,000 to 3,000 acres as they're reporting, and we've watched that smoke plume just growing out in the distance. Now, we've been trying to get to Incident Command at Stove Prairie School, but we've run into multiple road closures. Risk Canyon is closed west of LaPorte. Hooter Canyon is also closed at Stove Prairie Road and Highway 14. Now, as we were driving that way, there were still a lot of rafters and kayakers, much like there are here on this reservoir, out enjoying the weather despite the smell of smoke and the thick haze in the air. The sun was that eerie orange glow to it. When we got to the roadblock at Stove Prairie Road and Highway 14, officials there told us the fire was burning north, and they were concerned about it crossing Stove Prairie Road, so they said they weren't even allowing residents in to get any of their belongings. This is just one example of how quickly this fire is moving. You mentioned cell phone service. service, and we also ran into that. You know, as we got closer to the fire, we had absolutely no cell phone service out there. And as we were setting up for our live shot just moments ago, we actually had a resident pull up to our truck. She wanted the latest information. She said she lived just a few miles from the fire, and she took off to run some errands, and we told her it had grown to 2,000 to 3,000 acres, and she just couldn't believe it. So it shows you just how quickly this situation is changing. And again, you can see very windy out here, so not the most ideal conditions for this fire.
And we've been continuing to take you out to Jefferson County, where we have seen the tankers coming in. And as we've seen throughout the afternoon, the air fleet here is growing in terms of the area you saw on this fire. You're looking at a tanker getting ready to drop retardant, or possibly it just did. We'll see from Air Tracker 7 live. You are watching the firefight as it happens out at the High Park Fire in Larimer County. But again, that tanker, just one of the several helicopters and planes that they have out over it right now, trying to defend homes and really trying to beat back this fire from the most vulnerable areas at this point.
We invite you to stay with us on special coverage of the fire, the High Park Fire, this afternoon on 7 News at 5 o'clock, and we'll be back in just a moment. You're looking at live coverage of the High Park Fire in Larimer County. This is one of the aircraft that is looking to drop some retardant on one of the tankers, to drop retardant on that fire. The lead planes many times will take these aircraft around for a few trips as they look for the very right spot to be where they need that retardant the very most. And we've been following this one for a while, thinking any second that they're going to be dropping some of that retardant. And of course, we're continuing to follow all of this for you this afternoon, as this fire has started at 6 this morning, has gotten to as many as 3,000 acres as they continue to try to fight it.
Let's get the very latest. John Schultz from Larimer County Sheriff's Office joining us once again on the phone. John, thanks so much for taking time out. Bring us up to date.
Well, we are currently at 2,000 to 3,000 acres, and we have 0% containment. We do have quite a bit of aircraft on scene, as you were talking about with the heavy air tankers. We have 2 of those on scene now, with 2 more on order. The lead plane is helping them to show them where to do the retardant drops. We have an air attack control plane which controls all of the aircraft in the area. We have 5 single-engine air tankers on scene or ordered. We have 2 of the heavy Type 3 helicopters and 2 of the lighter Type 1 helicopters. And I tell you, it's just real important to have that aircraft resource.
Well, and John, while we're talking about the aircraft, when you're looking at the massive size of this fire, and you've just told us you now know it's 3,000 acres, how are you strategizing where to make those precious drops?
Yeah, that's done by the folks on the ground who are sizing up the situation, and those drops are actually directed by the people on the ground and where the worst areas and where we think they can do the most good. Obviously, my guess is that they're probably on the northeast side edge of the fire, is because that's the direction that it's moving, and that's the direction where there are more homes at. And so my guess is that that's probably where they're concentrating right now.
John, your folks have done such a great job of letting people know what's going on and getting them out of there, but I understand there's one person that's unaccounted for.
Well, there are a few people that are unaccounted for. I'm not sure of the exact number, but the Old Flowers Road area was extremely hard hit, and the fire moved through there very, very quickly. And we do have some residents from that area that are unaccounted for. We have resources assigned to try to track those people down. We hope they're in town enjoying lunch, but we're trying to figure that out at this point in time.
Now, we know that you've been going from door to door to try to talk to people. Do you have a reverse 911 system there?
We have an emergency notification system, and we do send out. We had, in the original evacuation, we had 36 homes that were evacuated or notified. in the second evacuation, which was that Old Flowers Road area, there were 10 homes in that particular area. We then, in our third evacuation, we had 73 notifications, and that's not homes, but notifications.
Right.
And that's the number of phone lines and emails that we send out to. And then in the last one, we had 227 notifications that sent out, and there may have been some overlap between those last two. So I'm not sure that it's really 300 notifications, separate notifications. There could have been some overlap in that.
And John, from what we're hearing too, we're putting up your phone number for Larimer County public information on the fire. We want folks to be patient because we're hearing folks are getting a busy signal. That's why we've been on the air all afternoon. We will continue to bring you the latest information. So be patient if you're getting a busy signal and you're trying to get some specific information for your area. John, do we know if this fire's jumped Highway 14 yet?
Yeah, I don't believe so. We have evacuated people along Highway 14, but that's the direction that it's headed, and we're hoping that we can stop it before it jumps that.
Tell us a little bit about communication between all of your folks that are working this today. Any issues with communication, or is it working fine? How's it going?
Well, so far as far as I'm aware, it is going. Of course, whenever you have a big event like this with a lot of different resources, there are always communication issues. But nothing has affected us so far that I'm aware of, and frankly, we've been getting a lot of practice at this in the last week or so.
Yeah, you have.
So I think we have a lot of the glitches worked out. But whenever you're bringing in a large number of crews from different areas and stuff, getting everybody on the same radio channels and stuff is always a challenge.
Yeah.
John, as we're watching the tankers continuing to go in and out of the fire in the burn area, you have been kind of adding slowly throughout the afternoon new evacuation areas. Is there any area right now that you'd like to just put on alert for potential evacuations, or that you think may be in the direct path of the fire in the coming hours?
Not that I'm aware of. I think with this last evacuation that we took care of most of the homes. That's not to say there may not be more, but we're hoping that things can get controlled before more evacuations are needed.
Now, of course, you have access to a lot of meteorology information, and I'm sure you're watching our fine folks, Matt Megan's, and his work today. One of his concerns has been that this fire could very well change direction as we get toward the midnight hour, if I recall, Matt. Are your guys taking all of that into consideration as well? Yeah,
I'm sure that we have people that are getting updated weather forecasts from the fire weather folks, and are watching that very carefully and factoring that in to the resources that they're ordering.
And I know that we often say that, and we hear from you folks, that these fires can create their own weather, so to speak. They can create their own environments, which also becomes volatile to the folks on the ground.
Yeah, it can be very dangerous, and it's just so dry and hot up there. It's really tough on the firefighters with all the heavy equipment they have to wear.
Okay, John, and again, the next update we're supposed to get, the public update, is 8 o'clock, is that correct?
That's right. Our next media briefing will be at 8 o'clock. Of course, we will put out anything that comes up significant before then on our website, through our releases, on Twitter, at Larimer Sheriff, and on our Facebook page as well.
Well, you'll be seeing us on your caller ID as well, my friend.
All right, very good.
All right, thank you so much, John. We appreciate your help this afternoon.
No problem.
He has been an incredible resource for us throughout the afternoon. We have also been hearing throughout the afternoon from many of you who are miles away, hundreds of miles away from where this fire is, but you are still seeing it in some cases. We've heard from folks in Nebraska, Cheyenne, Wyoming. This fire is starting to impact Denver International Airport. Our Mark Stewart is live now with more details on that. Mark?
Teresa, still waiting for official confirmation from the airport, but the FAA website, the delay and arrival website, is reporting some delays, about 15 minutes or so, and some gate holds. Again, we can't say for sure it's because of the fire, but when you have so much smoke and so much particulate matter in the air, it can certainly have an impact on commercial aircraft, and the fifth largest airport in the world certainly may not be an exception to this. I want to show you some new pictures we've been receiving from our My Report website. This is the view of the High Park fire near Laurie State Park, taken by Kayla Goddard. We've been talking about how the smoke is really becoming apparent across the state, and this picture shows just how quickly it is spreading. Another picture of the High Park fire from the Horsetooth Mountain, that's on the right side of your screen. More pictures now. This is from downtown Fort Collins. This was at around 2:30 in the afternoon, but now 2.5 hours later, we have just seen how this fire has magnified. I have been checking. At this point, no official air quality notice or alert issued by the Weather Service, but I think it is fair to say it's only a matter of time because, as we've been reporting, this fire is now being seen, the smoke at least is being seen in Nebraska, Wyoming, and certainly here in the Denver area. Of course, our viewers are a big part of our coverage in telling the story, so if you have pictures that you can take from a safe distance and be smart about it, we would be more than thrilled to show them. Just go to denverchannel.com, go to the My Report icon, and it's very easy for you to upload those pictures. But, the chopper is showing a view, but the views from the ground also are dramatic. We really have seen the perspective.
Mark, thanks so much. And just to recap for you before we go to a break, if you're just joining us, we have received an update, 3,000 acres now and growing, 0% containment according to the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. Again, 2 heavy air tankers on scene right now fighting these enormous flames that are crowning at the High Park fire. 5 single-engine aircraft also on scene. There are people unaccounted for in the Old Flowers Road area, the hardest hit area at this point.
I was just looking it up on Google satellite maps, trying to see if I could see how many homes are in that area. Unfortunately, it is not that clear in that area, but certainly they're being very, very careful about being sure that everyone is okay. And as John Schultz said to us, what he's hoping is a lot of these folks are having lunch or having dinner or are just away from their homes altogether and that they're safe and sound, and we pray for that as well.
We are hearing from some of you quickly asking about the wolf sanctuary in Wrist Canyon. The wolf sanctuary right now on standby. They are following the situation, but they have not yet been evacuated. So the wolf sanctuary out there in Wrist Canyon, so far, so good for those folks.
We're not just sitting there watching this fire burn, folks. We are watching folks fighting this fire, and there's an enormous amount of effort that's gone into it. The number of resources that have moved in just since we've been on the air this afternoon is remarkable, and they are really giving it their very, very best effort, and we will continue to follow that and show you from Air Tracker and from on the ground as well, giving you all the very, very latest on it on 7 News at 5 o'clock.